For 25 years, Golf Tech has been bringing innovation to golf instruction. Through the challenges of today, that's never been more true. With the enthusiasm for golf at an all-time high, we're inspired to keep innovating and celebrate this great game. Discover how Golf Tech's approach has helped thousands of golfers improve their game.
Keep the face open and be fine.
Golf Tech, helping golfers for 25 years.
With over 200 flavor notes to discover, every sip of Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
Do you want to increase exposure to your business and stand out as an authority in your field? Well, now you can with wearable imaging. We showcase your logo on unique and innovative items that will get your brand noticed. With 28 years experience in the business, we stand behind our expertise and we guarantee on-time delivery or your order is free. Contact us now for a free strategy session with our President Robin Richter. sales@wearableimaging.com.
I've been playing golf for over 20 years now, and I've been coaching golf for 16 years, and I've noticed a big change in the amount of women players nowadays. With that, I've noticed there's a lot more girls taking lessons at the course. Practically every golf course has a ladies club. There's many opportunities for high school girls to get golf scholarships, and there's a lot of tournaments for women only nowadays. If you like competing, if you like meeting other women who love to play golf, making new friends, getting outside and enjoying some exercise in the fresh air, grab your clubs and come out and play golf with us.
I've really enjoyed my role with For Magazine as well as For Her, and what I love about For Her is the fact that we get a monthly edition that we get to talk about anything golf related. We like to talk about the straightforward elements of the game, your swing, rules, but we also get to talk about anything under the sun that pertains to us as women within the game of golf. I'm just excited that as many people as possible are able to enjoy this great game, and I'm excited to be sharing it with a community and a forum of other women who are equally as passionate about the game.
I'm so excited to be able to celebrate the progress we've seen in women's golf. Personally, it's extremely rewarding to see this progress firsthand. When I first joined the SCGA board back in 2014, I was the first and only woman on the board. Now I'm proud to say that we have 3 women on the SCGA board of directors, and I know that number will only continue to grow. I'm also fortunate to serve as an officer for the association. And when I'm appointed as the first woman president of the SCGA later this year, it will be an incredible honor and privilege. It's certainly special to be the first, but most importantly, I know I won't be the last. I have a unique privilege of being able to serve both golf associations in Southern California, one in a volunteer capacity with the SCGA, and the other as a staff member of one of the largest PGA sections in the country. Just as we have seen wonderful growth and progress with women in the game and industry in the SCGA, we've seen the same progress here at the SCPGA. We currently have 4 women serving on our board of directors, which makes up 25% of our board. We also have our very first woman officer in Allison Kurt, who currently serves as secretary and will be appointed to president in 2025. On the junior side of things, it's incredibly exciting to see the number of girls participating in our game. A great sign of more women entering our game and our industry in the future.
I've been lucky to see firsthand how our program impacts our junior participants. This is most visible by looking at our staff. We currently have 67% of our coaches who are past junior participants themselves. Additionally, we have 3 full-time female staff members who are working in the field who started out with us as junior participants, earned college scholarships through our program, and they're now teaching the game they love every day to the next generation of golfers. Seeing them all come full circle through our programs has been incredibly rewarding.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 4th Annual Southern California Women's Golf Summit. I am so excited to hear how the summit has grown and impacted golf in Southern California over the past 4 years. I know the SCGA and the SCPGA are fully committed to supporting and fostering women's golf, and this summit is just one example. Like you, I am so excited to see the increased interest in this great game over the past year. So many new people have come to realize what we have known forever. Golf is a wonderful opportunity to be with friends and family outdoors in a safe environment. It can be enjoyed by people of all ages and skill levels. Thank you for being stewards of this great game, and I hope you enjoy the afternoon.
Good afternoon. and welcome to the 2021 Southern California Women's Golf Summit. I'd like to begin with a big thank you to my friend Nancy Lopez for those wonderful remarks. Nancy, you've been such a lifelong mentor to me and so many, as well as a trailblazer for the game. We all owe so much to you, so thank you again. My name is Nikki Gatch, and I'm currently serving as the Chief Operating Officer of the Southern California PGA, and also as the Vice President on the Board of Directors for the Southern California Golf Association. On behalf of both associations, I'm pleased you could all join us today, June 1st, Global Women's Golf Day. As you witnessed in the wonderful opening video, we have made tremendous progress locally over the past decade. Although we're pleased with the progress that we've made and these wonderful accomplishments, there's more to be done to cultivate and embrace our fellow female golfers. Events like today underscore the fact that women interact with and approach the game differently than our male colleagues. We're here today to recognize and celebrate those differences, acknowledge our unique qualities, and to learn from one another so that we can expand our connection to golf as we help women new to the game create a similar lifelong relationship. And to those gentlemen that have joined us today, thank you. Advancing the women's game will take effort and understanding from everyone, so we appreciate your support. While we represent the Southern California golf community, the issues we'll talk about today cross state boundaries and affect us all. To that end, we're thrilled to not only have attendees from California, but also from 23 other states, as well as from Canada and Mexico. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. Before we get into the program, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our terrific sponsors that were highlighted in the video at the start of this event. Crossing multiple categories, including equipment, apparel, instruction, participation, and promotion, this group of outstanding companies shares a common mission to support women's golf. Each of these brands has generously donated product in support of today's summit. In total, we have 35 terrific prizes to be given away. We'll conduct a raffle later today and share the results with you all tomorrow as part of an event recap. Please be sure to show your support for these brands that continually work to support women's golf and to help make this event possible. A few of them are offering special online incentives for today's attendees. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that all attendees are on mute. If you do have a question during one of our presentations, you can type it in the question box you see on the panel on the right. We'll be monitoring this and we'll ask relevant questions, time permitting, following each segment. Okay, let's get started with our first panel. To introduce our first guest, I'd like to welcome the moderator for the first panel, Jennifer Seislove. Jennifer is currently serving as the Operations and Development Director for the SCGA Junior Golf Foundation. Jen, thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to introduce our first group of panelists today, featuring a former colleague of ours, Julia Pine, now the Assistant Director, Championship Communications for the USGA. And joining Julia in today's conversation, we're excited to have Golf Week's Beth Ann Nichols. They are joining us live today from the Olympic Club, site of this week's US Women's Open, and we're thrilled to have them kick off today's summit. So now I'm happy to turn it over to Julia and Beth Ann. Welcome.
Well, probably in the whole world. Probably. Beth Ann and I are here on site, like Jen mentioned, at the Olympic Club for this week's 76th US Women's Open. And we want to thank Jen, Nikki, and the whole staff there at the SCGA and SCPGA for having us join. We certainly wish we were all together in person, as I know the summit customarily is, and hopefully it will be again in the future. Beth Ann and I met a few years ago through the job, and since then just love to talk women's golf with each other. And so we figured we would let everyone into our conversations today. I know we're taking questions, so feel free to fire those in on any subject related to women's golf. We promise to keep it PG. I think we always joke that we should have a podcast. So this is like episode 1 of our podcast with a live audience. So For starters, Beth Ann, you tweeted earlier this week that this is your favorite event of the year. Selfishly, I want to ask you why.
Yeah, it brings all of my worlds together. So you have the best professionals from around the world. Obviously, you have the best college players and you have the best junior players. So it's storylines galore. I love the amateurs at this event to see what they can do something special. Obviously, only one's ever won it. But it's and everybody's in a good mood, right? Because it's first class everything, and it's especially this week at Olympic.
Yeah, I mean, the USGA, since I joined 3.5 years ago, it's become apparent to me that all of us are really committed to the growth of the women's game, and this week's our platform. It's our biggest platform to do that. We're on NBC this weekend, and so this is our time to show the whole golf world, what this commitment means to us. I think what we can't understate this week is how much the venue does for us. And I know we're both hearing from players that the Olympic Club is, the place to have a U.S. Open. What are you hearing from people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we don't have fans yet. They're coming in a few days, but there's already plenty of buzz because everyone's so excited to finally have a chance at joining the amazing history that already exists here with the 5 U.S. Opens and 5 other men's USGA championships. So it's a beast. It's brutal, and they love that about it, right? They want the test.
Yeah, I think Christy Kirk called it Beauty and the Beast yesterday on Instagram. But I know for us it is important, to bring the Women's Open to the same place that the Men's U.S. Open is. We're going to be at Pebble Beach in 2 years, but being here at Olympic, it just felt great this week. I mean, we can see a view of the 18th green right here, which we could share that with you all. But we see almost every group taking photos right here, even though it's not the Chamber of Commerce day we had yesterday. We're a little layered up. Yes. People who are watching from Northern California will understand this June gloom, but it's just a special place. What does this bring back for you in terms of Women's Open memories?
So my first U.S. Women's Open was 2005, and I was, of course, I'm blown away at everything. I mean, you had Annika Sorenstam talking about a Grand Slam. You had Lorena Ochoa playing great until the end, and she didn't. You had Polly Creamer in the mix. You had, of course, the 2 amateurs, Morgan Pressel and Brittany Lang, and then Birdie Kim. So I walked away from that championship, blown away. And then I thought, well, maybe that was just my favorite because it was the first one, But as time went on, I was like, no, that it really was that good. I mean, it was just absolutely epic. And it's funny because I saw Morgan earlier today, and I was asking her about the rough. She said it reminds her of Cherry Hills, that when she looks back on how tough the rough was that year when she almost won and isn't standing in the fairway like this, the memory I will never forget when Birdie held that bunker shot. So that has been, the crowds were amazing that week. That's always been next level for me.
All right, we're going to pivot off the Women's Open. We'll come back to it, my favorite subject since we're here. But you wrote an article this year, months ago, February, that people are still buzzing about. February. Not everyone has read it, so give a brief synopsis.
So, I basically was looking at course setups and how course setups can change the women's game, not only the LPGA, but all the way down to just regular amateurs like us,
not me.
But it actually started mostly from the NCAA championship, where the men and the women play back to back on the same venue now, and the women go first. And I'd get so frustrated that the courses were seemingly often set up unfairly, where the scores were extremely high. Women were hitting clubs into greens that they had no business hitting. The greens, weren't receptive to a 4-iron or a hybrid or a 6-iron. They're built for a 9-iron or a wedge, which is what you would see the men hitting in the very next week. So, I think for the overall arching thing was that, wouldn't it be great if women at all levels could be able to play the golf course in the way it was designed and in a similar way to what you see in the men's game, where there's so much risk reward, where there's so many drivable par 4s, reachable par 5s, and for the women, on average, the reachable par 5 most players couldn't reach.
Right.
So it's just a totally different game when you flip on the men's game compared to what you watch in the women's.
And I think there was a little bit of a false narrative at first that came out that you were asking the golf world, to shrink golf courses because the women weren't good enough to play them long. But what you're really saying is this green was built to receive a golf ball off of a certain club. And when
Correct.
Dustin Johnson hits that club, the green receives it well, but the women aren't given the opportunity to play with that same club. And your article had a stat in it, an infographic that I think had Xander Schauffele was the best from X yards in, and say Young Kim was the best from X yards in. You're going to explain it better than me, but that she never gets the opportunity to play those yardages. So he gets that, a few times around, and she gets it once every few weeks.
Right. But it also shows you, because they were basically pretty much identical.
Yeah,
and their
stats were identical. Yeah.
So, showing you that she's just as good as he is. And that also brought up the next point, which is the lack of stats in the women's game. And so when you have them playing golf courses that are set up more difficult, and then you don't have the stats to build around it to show how good that 70 really was, it just feeds into this narrative that the women aren't as good as the men, and I think at the end of the day, when you turn on the television, you see a woman hitting hybrid in, every other hole, or laying up on every par 5, driver 9-iron wedge, driver 7-iron wedge, it's like, well, gee, they're not very good. They don't
less
hit it very
marketable.
far. Right, exactly.
People want to see greatness, and they equate greatness to birdies, and there's just less birdies.
And I tied it into Annika's 59,
right,
because there hasn't been a 59. It was the 20th anniversary of her 59. Jessica Korda shot 60 earlier in the year. And when you look at the it seems like there's a 59 watch every other week on the PGA Tour, so again, there was a misconception that I was calling for a pitch and putt, or that every event be a birdie fest, and that's not what I was saying. But gee, wouldn't it be nice, how has there not been another 59 on the women's tour? So
it probably won't happen here this week.
Probably not.
Yes.
Probably not.
Not really the style of the U.S. Open. But okay, so we talked about the misconceptions, but in general, a lot of praise for the article. You were on TV a lot talking about it. And this all stemmed from, shout out to your editor, who basically said, write something you're passionate about.
Absolutely. And last week I was at the NCAA championship, and I had a coach come up to me, and she said, we hosted a tournament the week after your article came out. We took it to heart. We had a drivable par 4, we had reachable par 5s. And the players had a lot of fun, and so I think, for all levels of the game, for amateur players as well. Some of my favorite responses came from Twitter when men would say, I just had a light bulb moment here, because we're trying to figure out which tee to play. I play with my spouse or my colleague, my female colleague, and we end up in the same spot. We're trying to end up in the same spot in the fairway. Right. So okay, that's great. But now I'm hitting, I just realized I'm hitting a wedge in, and she's hitting a 7-iron in, and oh, wait a second, that's not exactly the same. So it's not just about landing in the same spot. It's what club are you hitting into?
Right, exactly. And that brought like a new light to it. And it's being talked about a lot this week because the Women's Open is being played somewhere that is so familiar to viewers, so familiar to broadcasters, that has had US Opens here, as you mentioned. So we're being asked, are the women going to hit the same clubs in as men? And I think we don't know yet, but certainly I know from the USGA perspective, our philosophy here, the starting point is the setups for the US Open, right? We know this course so well that's where we started. Do we need to make some tweaks? Of course, but our starting point with everything from hole locations to how we're cutting, the rough, it's all starting from US Open. So I hope we see the same thing we saw with those. I started my career at the SCGA, as you know. It wasn't always going to be golf for me. That was new. I knew that I would work in sports always. I stumbled upon golf, had never hit probably a golf shot in my life. That is not why you got into golf. So talk a little bit about your journey.
My longer journey?
Yes.
Well, I started at age 9, probably like a lot of folks at a Muni, playing in a junior league. It cost 50 cents to play the 9 holes, and then as you got older, $1 for 18. So that was my introduction, and really just it's been I think my favorite part of golf certainly is the relationships. probably with my father more than anything else because of the talking point that it gives us all the time. But you know, I played college golf at Florida Southern, and then I graduated and already had a job lined up with Golf Week, and this is my 19th.
Oh, you skipped
year.
something important to this audience, your boat ride internship.
Oh, that's right. I was a boat ride intern. That's correct. I interned with the Florida State Golf Association back when the men and women were split. They're now together, but I was with the women at that point. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. I remember going up to Far Hills to meet all the interns and sitting in a rules seminar, and I was like, wow, this is not for me.
Well, we now call it Liberty Corner, not Far Hills.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I was at the SCGA when we merged with the WSCGA, so that was a fun project for me to work on. I know there's a lot of former WSCGA members on today, and I thought that I would spend maybe 2 years in golf and pivot out to baseball, basketball, or one of the sports I was more familiar with, and I've fallen in love with it. And same reason as you, it's because of the relationships. I know for me, covering or working in an individual sport, you really get to shine a big light on the human interest aspect of that.
Yeah.
So speaking of these personalities, knowing their games, knowing their personalities, who's going to win the Women's Open?
The $1 million question.
That I can't. I'm staying out of it. I've got USGA on my shirt. There's no cheering in the media press box, but you are media.
Yeah.
You can guess.
I mean, if you follow me, you know that I like to pick NB at every major. But I'm going to branch out, even though historically bombers don't win here. So when you look at Webb Simpson, Lee Jansen, so you would like, you know, NB's chances, of course. But I'm going to go with Patty Tavatanagin. I'm going to go on. I feel like it's a little bit of a limb in that she's only won once, but it was a major that she won recently. And she stood here earlier today and looked extremely confident.
Very confident.
Yeah.
All we're hearing all day is it's really hard. The rough's really hard. The fairways are really narrow. I think her comment was it's wide open.
Yes. and she felt it was extremely fair, which is always an important word here, right?
Which means she's very confident.
Yes. I mean, right out the bat, you know. So I think she's and I love, you know, the journey that she's on and being comfortable with the spotlight and being comfortable with people kind of, you know, bombarding her. She likes it when people don't know who she is. Yeah. She says she likes anonymity. She's an only child and likes her space. But I love how honest she is about all of that. And I think being honest helps her to play, you know, a little bit more freely and
yeah, if you don't want people to know who you are, it's not good to win a major.
Don't win a major.
Don't win a major. She just won the ANA right there in the desert. But yeah, I was blown away by some of her comments today about the course.
Pine, where do you see this championship going?
Like physically location. We're not going to site announce right now.
Okay, no, just in terms of it's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it is. And I think for us, well, two pieces. One, the media part, all you do is super important to us. I know we're going to share some things tomorrow, but last year in December at the Women's Open, which is still weird to say, we just had a Women's Open 6 months ago in Houston. It was about this cold.
Yeah, it was. And rainy.
Yeah, and a little rainy with our Monday finish. But we launched our Women Worth Watching campaign, which was really stemming around the fact that only 4% of sports media coverage is on women's sports and female athletes. We've run the numbers. This is not official. It's a lot higher in golf. More like 12 to 15% of golf coverage is dedicated to women's golf.
That's
a lot
low.
More on Golf Week and USA Today. Plug. But you know, in that number, you're including ESPN and CNN and places that sometimes will only cover Tiger or Phil. So you really lose a lot there. But we really wanted to shine a light on that stat. So we did a really big campaign around it. It was an awareness play. We wanted people to be appalled, like, you know, you were, by that 4% number. And, you know, our partners leaned in. There was a lot of action on social media, and a lot of people have really carried that message through. I still see it now during a random LPGA tour week where people are calling out coverage inequalities. So I think we started a conversation, but now it's important for us to actually do something about it. So it is nice that we didn't have to wait a year for our biggest platform again. We only had to wait 6 months. And again, sorry to tease things that are tomorrow, but we want to do something about it. So we're going to take some action to try to close that gap. It's really important to us. and at the same time take some of the responsibility on ourselves. So we're going to rely on people like you to tell a lot of stories, and we're going to tell some of the stories ourselves in a bigger way. But that's the media side of it. I think internally we have always had a huge commitment to the Women's Open. It has the biggest purse. You helped us share some financial numbers about a year ago. The U.S. Open, the men's, brings in $80 million for the USGA annually. That funds not just the Women's Open, but our AGA partners, a lot that we do for them in the boat right program, green section, teaching the rules of golf. And this championship we invest in. It doesn't make any money, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to raise that investment. So we're going to continue to grow it. We're going to continue to try to close the gap. Big word recently is equity, but we're all in on equity. From a definition perspective, equity is not equality. So we like to say that we're committed to equity with a future of equality. And that's across the board. That's the courses we go to. That's hopefully someday purse. That's the level of experience that these players have this week. That's the fan experience. That's the commitment to media, all of it.
So important.
Yeah.
And the players, they talk about the details and that and how they feel valued, when they
and it's even the little things. I think Angela Stanford was saying it last week when they were in Vegas, which was the little touches of valet. We give every player a courtesy car, and that's something that the men experience often and the women barely ever do. Everything tonight they have the famous chef Thomas Keller coming in to cook for them. But at the same time, it's also the big things like giving them broadcast hours and exposure. And so we're really lucky to have NBC Golf Channel. I think it's 70 hours of live coverage this week.
Wow.
When you include some of the shoulder programming like Live From. And that's the spotlight that the women's game needs. I think we both run up against, you more so, people who have so many misconceptions about women's golf and why they maybe wouldn't want to tune in and watch it, but they haven't necessarily given it a chance. How many times have we seen any amateur man could win on the LPGA tour? You probably get that a lot.
That conversation on Twitter is exhausting. Oh my gosh. And then they come out here and it's so fun to, you can tell the people who've never been out here before and they make these audible like, whoa, or like, they just make these noises when they see Arian Jutanugarn, rifle a 2-iron off the tee and they're like, what just happened?
All right. We were rolling in with questions.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to look down. So thank you, Jen. This one's going to be for you. Then there's maybe one for me. Any advice for a new golfer? 5 months in and I love the game.
Oh, wow. I love that. I would say, I think going back to the tees thing, don't bite off more than you can chew too early. I think it's important to learn how to score. So don't feel pressured to move back or to play wherever your playing partners are playing. There is a confidence that's really important to build up in learning how to score. And so don't rush that. And at the same time, if you like to listen to music on the golf course, that's awesome.
Yes.
Just have fun with it. Like
my soon to be new boss, Mike Wan.
Yes.
Current commissioner of the LPGA. I think he's technically left. New CEO of the USGA listens to music on the golf course.
Yeah.
Blast it. Hotel California, he said his favorite song to listen to when he's on the golf course. I'm going to take it a step further. She's a college golfer. I am not probably even as advanced as the person who asked this question. So I agree with you. Tees are important. And we're out of our vernacular is women's tees, right? It's forward tees.
Right.
Don't play by the rules of golf until you need to. I sit at the USGA and that's what we believe. Here, do we need to play by the rules of golf at the Women's Open? Absolutely. But if you're out with friends, if you're just with colleagues, you don't have to play by the rules of golf. I pick up the ball in the bunker. And that's okay.
It is okay.
But people,
100%
yes,
okay.
because it'll take me 12 hacks to get it out. And then why is that fun for me? I don't leave fun.
Yeah.
So I pick up the ball, throw it out into the fairway and tee it up.
Yeah.
I learned that from my boss at SCGA. You can tee it up in the fairway.
Absolutely.
Why not?
You absolutely.
Shouldn't it be fun? It's a game.
It should absolutely be fun. And when someone says, where's your ball? And you say it's in my pocket, totally okay. I say that too.
Also, I'm a big fan of the scramble.
My husband and I play scramble.
There we go.
So my husband is more or less a beginner type player. And so for us to both have a good time, we play a scramble, and he gets mad at me if we don't, because it adds more pressure to him, so he's like, we're playing a scramble, right? And we play so much faster, and and he takes it seriously. He wants us as a team to do well. And so now it's not a competition, it's a team, and it puts us more on the same level.
Everyone on this call who has been to Industry Hills will feel my pain, but when I started at the SCGA, I truly never played golf before. I've taken lessons since then, played a little bit more. There's staff outing at Industry Hills, 36-hole facility in Southern California. Have you ever been there? It hosts US Women's Open qualifying.
Yes.
Not easy.
No. They had an LPGA event.
So I scrambled, and I had a colleague. They'd hit. I'd move my ball out of, the either 10 feet in front of me or the rough up there or the bunker to their ball. And then I got to have more fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know why people want to do that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. Let's roll through these questions. That was a long one. This is did you send this in? Any future back-to-back US Open, US Women's Open?
Oh, I ask her that all the time.
Well, first talk about why you liked it so much. 2014.
Pinehurst. Yeah. Well, obviously Michelle, we won. So for starters,
She's playing right out here right now.
Tremendous breakthrough for Michelle. But it was fantastic. You had all the buzz of the men's event. You had a lot more media that stayed over that might not have ever even been to a US Women's Open before. So and I actually think the women's championship was more exciting than the men's at the end of the day. But it was fantastic, and I think the way the setup, the USGA did a beautiful job setting up the women's event so that it was played similarly to the men.
And that was shouted out actually in your article. I think Stacey Lewis mentioned that was the gold standard for taking a golf course, making it suitable for men and women at the highest level of competition.
But you didn't answer the question.
I know. It is in the plans.
Okay, it's in the plans. It's in the plans. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Have we seen an increase in entries for women's championships? We have over time. I think right now the girls junior is our fastest growing championship by far. So that says something about all these programs like First Tee and LPGA USGA Girls Golf, that really the future, the future of the game is female. I know, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it used to be X% of women played of golfers were female, and that number's just grown, to extremes. I don't think we see the numbers we want to, though. I think there's something, and I'm going to use the Senior Women's Open as an example. There's a ton of really eligible senior women who should be trying to qualify for the Senior Women's Open, and they say it's not for them. They think that it's the top level of competition, and because they haven't competed in years, it's not for them. We don't see that with the men. They'll go out and try, even if, and some of them have no business trying. but women tend to be more self-conscious about signing up for a USGA SCGA event. Kudos to the SCGA. They just launched their own mid-am. I don't think entries were sky high, but you have to put the flag in the ground and do it anyway.
Absolutely.
So that people have something to aim for. But yeah, I wish, everyone should, if your handicap is eligible, you are eligible. You should be out there. There's a reason that handicap limit's there. And who knows? A lot of these qualifiers are just 18 holes. You can end up in a USGA championship. You ever going to play in one?
Absolutely. I probably fall in that category of I'm not prepared enough. but I think when Phil won the PGA, my brain automatically went to the U.S. Senior Women's Open and why that championship was so important, because these women want to play for championships. They want to still be competitive and relevant at 50, and so that was one of my all-time favorite championships at Chicago Golf Club for the inaugural Senior Women's Open. And it's I just think it was just such an important piece of the puzzle for the women's game.
Yeah, and I feel like I was really spoiled. 2018 was my first year as a member of the USGA staff. And I think that will forever be my favorite championship. I shouldn't say that yet because I hopefully have a long career here. But Nancy Lopez, who just gave this intro, even from the fact that she was the starter, I think the week started with a national anthem, and you look over and Nancy Lopez was crying.
Yeah.
It was just such a big moment for these women who had such long careers on the LPGA and thought they were over. And I think for a long time, the sense was there wouldn't be enough interest. And
Right.
then we decided that we have to do it anyway.
Right.
As these women here this week plan for their careers, we want them to know that there's an open championship for them when they're done. And now that we're a few years in, we're starting to, I mean, Annika just turned 50 and
Yep.
she came out of retirement for it. So it works. You know, I think somebody mentioned it to Angela Stanford recently. I mean, she's still in her low 40s, but she knows that she will play in the Senior Women's Open. So even as she sets her career, she might dabble in LPGA events longer because she knows she wants to stay in tune for that. And that will be my shout out. I mean, the Senior Women's Open is the one where we are really working to get entries up. It's still a new championship. It was really hard that we went 1 year, 2 year, and then had a pandemic.
Yes.
So the third annual Senior
Yeah.
Women's Open is this summer at Brooklawn Country Club in Connecticut. Annika will make her debut, which has been well documented. But there's names like Julie Inkster, Pat Hurst, who I think is up next. She'll be playing this year. Katrina Matthew,
Solheim Cup captain.
both Solheim Cup captains. But yeah, it's here's this is my pitch to sign up. Is there a champions dinner? So there was actually supposed to be a reunion of champions here, but given the demographic and some of the things we were hearing from champions, it just still didn't feel like everyone would want to travel for something social. Also, I think a masked, socially distant reunion of champions is not what anyone wants. And with Pebble in 2023 on the horizon, we decided to postpone that. So we had one in 2014 at Pinehurst, and we'll have another Women's Open reunion of champions in 2023. I'm getting a less than 5-minute warning, so I'm gonna roll through these.
Wouldn't you love to be at that dinner, by the way?
Seniors still,
I would.
well, I probably, no, I don't know if I will be. I don't know if I get
We're
the
not
invite.
allowed.
Is the Senior Women's Open still open for registration? It is, as are, I'm sure, all the SCGA senior events and the senior amateur events. So USGA.org, SCGA.org would have all of those. What is the boat right program? Do you want to take that?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can take it. I mean, I was an intern 1,000 years ago.
I applied to be an intern and I was rejected.
Oh, really?
I was rejected.
Wow.
Yes,
what a fail. On their part.
Yeah, well, so you're talking now.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's even better. It's a good story, actually. It's why I'm in golf. I applied to be a boat right intern. Honestly, probably didn't really know what I was signing up for. I think I wasn't tried and true golf enough to have an internship that touched all these different aspects, but I met some great people at the SCGA and they offered me a job a few weeks later. So it's a happy story, but I like to say that because it's funny to start it that way.
It worked out.
But the Boat Right Internship Program is a program by the USGA that funds internships for all of our allied golf associations across the country. So someone like the SCGA gets a boat right intern, basically a full-time intern that they don't have to pay for all year long. Associations like the SCGA get more than one. They get SCGA Junior Golf Foundation also gets one, all the way to the Texas Golf Association, Minneapolis Golf Association, and it's the USGA's way of funding the future of golf. And you benefited from that.
Absolutely.
A lot of boat right interns end up in a career in golf, not just in golf administration, golf writing, clearly.
Yeah. Wrote my first golf story as a boat right intern for the newsletter.
There you go. I need to find that.
It's probably in my mom's scrapbook somewhere.
It probably is. My parents have every issue of Four magazine still in their house.
Awesome.
Yeah. What's the best site to find out about amateur events? Probably your local golf association. So if you're in Florida, it's the FSGA. And Southern California, it's the SCGA. Here, it's the NCGA. You can always find your local association at usga.org/AGA, I believe. But that's where you'll find the best amateur events. I'm going to try to squeeze in one more unless they cut me off, and it's for you. Do you use your platform to write content specifically for women? I'm going to change it though, for women or about women.
I would say 95% of what I write is about women. I cover a couple of men's majors a year. Sometimes I do a little men's college golf and some other things, but almost everything I do is geared towards women's golf of all levels. And it is certainly my passion to shine a light on as many of these players as possible at all levels of the game.
And I will say that that is my favorite part of following Beth Ann on Twitter. So at Golf Week Nichols, did I get it right?
A little plug, yeah.
She uses her platform to shine a bigger light on the game. It's my passion too. I don't have the 25,000 Twitter followers that she has. but I see Jen pop back on, so we're getting kicked off.
Okay.
So we'll have to continue this episode 2 of our podcast.
Yes. This is a great start.
We
Thank
don't
you.
want to kick you guys off, and I would definitely tune in for episode 2. So can you guys give us a launch date for that? I know a bunch of just thank you so much. What a great way for us to kick off today's summit. Julia, I love that statement you said about the commitment to equity with a future towards equality. I just think there's so many great things the USGA is using their platform for as it relates to women's golf. And Beth Ann, we know you're out there writing great things and appreciate everything you're doing as well. We wish you guys a really fun week at Olympic. I hope the weather gets a little warmer. I'll be heading out there myself at the end of the race. So very excited for that. And thank you again for your time and enjoy the week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
Everyone
see you
tune
out
in.
here.
I'll be there. And now I'm happy to turn the program back over to Nikki Gatch.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks, Julia and Beth Ann. So cool for both of you to be joining us on location from the great Olympic Club during the U.S. Women's Open. Very, very cool. So great segment to kick us off today. And as we head into our second segment, it's my pleasure to have a discussion with a new friend of mine in the golf industry, PGA and LPGA professional, Mackenzie Mack. Mackenzie, I know you're trying to join us, so if you can turn your camera on now, and if you're having trouble, the show will go on, as we say.
I think I shared it.
Oh. I think we're getting there. Maybe Chris in our technical room can try to work his magic. Well, let's jump in and try to get our technical stuff figured out here. But just to introduce you, take a couple minutes here to introduce Mackenzie. Mackenzie's a very accomplished player, coach, and leader within our industry. She has a special passion for youth golf and teaching and coaching, and she's been recognized as a top instructor by US Kids, the LPGA, and the PGA of America. Mackenzie is also in the African American Golfers Hall of Fame. We're fortunate enough that Mackenzie relocated here to Southern California from Tennessee at the end of last year, where she joined Callaway Golf as their first participant in the Leadership Rotational Program that we'll hear a little bit about in just a moment. There we see you, Mackenzie. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
I finally made
it. All right, good. Well, thank you. Well, let's start out, if you can, just share your golf journey. You know, we hear a lot about everyone's golf journey and sort of celebrating that. And, you know, when did you get into the game? Give us a little history and background there. And then when did you and how did you decide that golf was not only going to be a hobby or sport you played, but it was going to be your career path?
Absolutely. I think golf chose me, unfortunately. I didn't choose it. Nobody in my family played golf. My mom put me and my sister in every sport imaginable. She's a single parent trying to figure out the best way to get her 2 daughters into college for free. And so I played basketball, I ran track, I did gymnastics, and I'm not very fast, I'm not very tall, so none of those worked for me. One day at gymnastics, she sat next to the local head pro's wife, who recommended that she put me and my sister in golf, especially for scholarships. And so she did. She signed us up that next weekend, and we started playing golf as a family, me, my sister, and my mom. So golf just was added into the rotation of sports that we played, and it was something that we did as a family for quite a long time, until the head pro was like, hey, you should go sign up for a golf tournament. I hadn't really played on a course or anything like that, So of course we showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, limited clubs. Like we didn't know. We thought it was the range, like we have been doing. And we got around, and I actually placed in that tournament. I think that was the first time that I was like, hey, this is fun, right? Everybody likes to win something. So I was like, this is something that I want to continue with. And so that's kind of where the bug for me started. And that was around like 9 or 10.
That's awesome. Great story. As so often, right? We're introduced by a family member, a mother, father, uncle, grandparent. So that's a great story. So I know you played junior golf and you went on to play collegiately, right? Why don't you share a little bit about that, if you would?
Sure. So I continued to play golf, played high school golf. I actually played with MB because MB was grew up in Las Vegas for some of the time. So we played high school golf together. That's not the competitor you want to see when you go to a high school match. But she definitely made me better. So I played high school golf, was able to travel and get a Division I scholarship to Indiana State University. I was recruited there. So when I first talked to the coach, I'm like, where is Indiana? So I always tell juniors to keep your mind open because golf can take you anywhere. So I went there. I loved it, played 4 years, stayed and got my master's degree while I was coaching, being the assistant golf coach there as well. So loved it. I still talk to my teammates now, and it's just a bond you'll never lose.
For sure. Some of my best years were certainly the collegiate golf experience. For those of us that didn't go on to become tour stars, we still have those relationships and those bonds and certainly those memories, and pretty much help shape, who we are today. So really, really a lot of fun. So after college, I know you got your master's degree. When did you decide that, hey, this is the career path for me? This is something I want to do for the rest of my life, to make a living.
Right.
When did that light bulb go off?
I don't think it even went off at that point. I know that I wanted to play because everybody who plays college golf wants to play.
Sure.
Either I was going to play or I was going to be like a financial advisor. That's kind of where my education path was going. And so I moved to Florida, played the mini tours, had some Symetra tour status, was living the dream. So I thought, right?
Right.
And while I was playing mini tour golf, I was working at the First Tee in Tampa to make ends meet and coaching the kids. And I am a First Tee participant, so I've been in the program my whole life, but to be a coach and help them through their journey really is what made me think, oh, this is something I could do, right? I was with the First Tee, I was able to use my master's degree to grow the business and grow the nonprofit, but I also got to help the youth with their journey and open all the doors for them that somebody did for me, which was important for me. And so just being able to pass the opportunities the game gave to me to the youth was the light bulb.
Yeah. That's what's so unique about our game and our industry also, is just how we have the opportunity to really change lives and make an impact in lives. And those of us that have been fortunate to work with kids and youth, and leveraging and utilizing golf as that tool to give them a better life and build their self-confidence, and whether they end up taking it to the next level or not, golf will teach them so much. So I know that's always been the most rewarding part of my career too, is being able to have an impact on a young person's life. So, well, super cool. I know you've done amazing things with junior golfers, and you were just such a superstar in Tennessee with the First Tee and everything that you did. And we're just so fortunate that you're here in Southern California, and that Callaway tapped you on the shoulder and said, Mackenzie, you've got to come out this way. And I'd love for you to talk to us a little bit about this new program, the Leadership Rotational Program, because it is new. This is the first time they've done this. You're the first participant. So kind of walk us through what the program is and what you'll be doing. I believe it's a 2-year program, correct?
Correct. It is a 2-year program. It's brand new. And Callaway just was looking to find that next generation of leaders, right? The industry, they're always innovating and always trying to stay ahead of the curve. And so this is just them trying to stay ahead, right? Make sure that they have the next generation there to push the game along, right? It's the next generation that's going to continue everything that's been done before. So within the program, I get to rotate to different departments every few months and just see how the business is run from those areas. And I started in retail marketing, which was a blast because I started right before launch. So I got to see all the new product and be around all the product. And so for a player, that's like amazing because I'm like, oh yeah, I want to hit that ball. I want to hit everything.
Yeah.
Everything's great. And right now I'm in the finance department, which is a little bit in my wheelhouse, like I said before, from my education background. And with the huge merger with Topgolf, I get to be a part of that and kind of merge the two, and from my teaching background and from the business side. So it kind of works, right? I get to help them figure out how to grow that, right? How to reach those markets that the regular golf space doesn't necessarily do the best job of reaching, but a Topgolf does. So that's been exciting so far. So I'm looking forward to what other rotations they have going on. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But
you're learning as you go, just as they are, sounds like.
Absolutely, but it's been a blast. Like I think people think jobs in the industry is just at the green grass facility, at a golf course, or being an instructor. And being at Callaway, it's so much more than that. There's 600 plus people at headquarters, and they all do something different. So it's amazing to see how many more opportunities there are in golf than I even originally thought.
Yeah, pretty eye-opening for sure. So what's been the most unique thing maybe that you've learned in your relatively short time so far with Callaway? Anything that's opened your eyes? I know you just mentioned, obviously there's so many opportunities within our industry, but anything specific that you can talk about without giving away any corporate secrets, of course.
I've just learned that.
Is there an opportunity that you see where you're going to bring a huge value to that company because you have been sort of on the other side of the industry and can maybe open their eyes to some things, whether it's being more representative of everyone, something like that?
Absolutely. I think that my strongest suit that helps the company is that I came from a nonprofit, and so I was a big community builder, right? Like I have heavy ties and learned how to connect with the community and give the golf community what they really want and how to connect with them. So I think I bring that, because sometimes the bigger companies lose sight of the actual everyday golfer, right? Like what do they really want?
Who their customer is.
Yeah, the customer. And so I love that. And because I bring the junior golf, I bring the women's background as well, which are all markets that are not given as much attention as other markets. So I think I can bring that new perspective, and I think that's important. I think that's important in golfing overall, is having more women, right, and in leadership roles, to give to see it from a different perspective. Like the women we heard earlier, all of the perspective she had is from her being a woman, right? Maybe a man didn't even think of those things because it didn't cross their mind. And I think that's why it's important for us to be in those leadership roles, to say, hey, we like other colors than pink, right? Like we want to see some other things. So I think that is just what the industry needs across the board.
Yeah, for sure. And kudos to Callaway Golf for recognizing that and for starting this program and bringing in a superstar like yourself. So we look forward to seeing great things. And again, we're super excited that you're here in Southern California with us. What do you think? Obviously we showed the video and we've certainly made great strides, in the last decade or even longer. I mean, even talking, I know I'm much older than you, but even when we played junior golf, I mean, the number of girls playing just wasn't very many, and to see the growth that we've had and to be over 30% now. And I know very soon there's going to come a day where it's 50-50 girls and boys, and that's going to be so exciting. So we've made some great strides, but what do you what do you think, based on your perspectives and your experiences within the industry and as a woman golfer, what have been some of the biggest challenges to us in growing the women's game or the girls' game?
I think the biggest challenges have been just having the perspective of a woman at the decision making table, and just having somebody to say, hey, maybe a woman would like just kind of catering to us, but you can't do that if you don't listen to us or you don't have somebody there to represent us. And so I think representation is just big across the board, to reach exactly us and what we need, right? Like I said, pink is not like we like other colors than pink, right?
Right.
We all don't like sleeveless shirts, right? So you see the same things in different in targeting women. And I think we need to do a better job in the industry of listening to our women consumers, and that happens because we're showing up, right? Like you said, we're the fastest growing market in golf, and the more that we show up to these golf courses, and they see our faces, they're like, hey, women are out here. We need to do a better job of hearing what they need. So I tell every woman, show up, come play, don't be intimidated. Like nobody's paying attention. And most of the time we're better than the men. So don't tell them I said that, but we are. And so they're always trying to hit it super far, but you have to put it in the hole. And I always see women, their short game is so much stronger than men. So don't think that you can't compete, you can, and just come, show up and come play.
Right. And we just heard from Julia, who works for the USGA, and she just told you, if you're a new golfer, do not play by the rules of golf, until you're ready. Enjoy the game. Don't put that added pressure on yourself. Enjoy the game for what it is, and being with family and friends and being outdoors and trying a new sport. So it was really refreshing to hear her say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring a friend, and I don't always play by the rules either. Some days, it's rough.
It's tough. Hey, Mackenzie and I invited Mackenzie to be my partner in a women's Southern California PGA event. We had a wonderful time. We didn't and we won any trophies. We won a skin, and we just had an amazing time. It was nice to just get away from the computer and the desk for a day and enjoy each other's company, get to know each other a little bit better. That's what this game is about. So whether you're a new golfer or a golf professional, we still enjoy the same thing. So great advice there. I do have a couple questions that are coming in here. So do you see a good mix of men and women in the manufacturing space? The benefits of offering your female perspective, which I think you've covered that a little bit, but did I hear you say 600 employees at Callaway?
Around there.
What's the breakdown roughly, men and women?
I'm not sure of the breakdown exactly. I know that it is their mission to bring it, make sure it's a diverse organization, and that's why they started this program. They have a women's task force to help with those decisions because they understand that they need our perspective. So they, within the task force, we get to see the ideas and we get to say, no, don't say that or don't do that, like to the leadership, which is important to know that the leadership does understand that we're important. And so, and that's what I really enjoy about the company. Do we need more? Absolutely. Just like you need more players, we need more women that see golf as a avenue for career.
Right.
So yes, we need as many as possible.
Yeah, and Callaway Golf has been so great partnering with us and the Girls Night Out program. We're hoping to bring that back, sort of post-COVID. They were so gracious to welcome us into headquarters and welcome our young junior golf girls, and even collegiate girls, and just educate them on just what we're talking about, the different areas within our industry. It's not just about being a traditional green grass golf pro or a teaching pro. That's wonderful, and that opportunity is certainly there, but to work for a company like Callaway in marketing, advertising, finance, R&D, all of these things are, and that's just one example at one company. So I know that's a huge goal of ours at the SCPGA, and I know the SCGA as well, is just to educate our young golfers, especially young women, that this is a nice career path for you. If you already have the love of the game, you can actually make a living and stay close to the game. So we're gonna keep doing our part there. So thank you for that. One other question, what can be done to keep girls, and specifically young girls, in the game as they get older to ensure they become lifelong golfers? You know, I think sometimes we get that age, right? That preteen, teenage years where maybe their friends aren't playing golf, or, you know, we do see a little bit of a drop off, unfortunately. But what would you suggest we do to keep them in the game?
Unfortunately, at that age, that 13, 12, 13, women, girls drop off across every sport. It's some, I don't know what it is. But what I've seen when I coach is if they have a buddy that also does what they do, they tend to stay with it. So I'm a big proponent of girls golf because it is golf, but it's also the social aspect. So yes, they come out to golf, but they also will do arts and crafts, or they might have a pizza party. And that kind of keeps them involved long enough to get past that middle school. I always call the middle school is like that iffy age.
It's a horrible age, let's face it. For them and for parents.
Absolutely. So to get them through that is tie it into other things, right? Make it fun and not make it so much about the golf in that period, because they will transition out of that once they get into high school. It's very temporary, but I think sometimes we make those life, like those changes, those permanent changes in a temporary state, and we don't need to do that. They will come out of it, and I've seen it time and time again with the girls, and they're grateful for their parents that made them stay in it, because they see the benefit even early as 9th grade. I don't know what happens from that middle school age, but I say do something, make it fun, right? Don't make it competitive, and make sure they have a friend. Make sure they find a buddy to go with them to the course. Then they'll stay.
And that's why programs like LPGA Girls Golf and PGA Junior League, where it's a group atmosphere, you know, and you're not having to go out and practice by yourself and, you know, take time away from your friends. It's you're doing something with your friends. So it's, you know, and it's a great opportunity to invite someone into the game, you know, whether it's your BFF or your cousin or something, you know, take them out to the range and get them into some of these group programs and activities.
Absolutely.
We noticed earlier, this just came in, we noticed earlier, I know you had an interview with Annika.
Yes.
That you did, or that you posted. I'm not sure if you did it today or if it was done previously, but tell us a little bit about that for those that didn't get a chance yet to see that.
Anybody that knows me knows I am an ultimate Annika fangirl. So like when I got the opportunity, they're like, "Hey,
it's awesome.
You have time to interview Annika?" I was like, "Oh, let me check my schedule, but it's wide open." Okay. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. I just think she's a great athlete, and she's always humble, but she's always confident. She's that perfect mix, and she's always so nice, and she's such a big proponent of women's golf. And even though she hasn't been playing, she does so much for the game behind the scenes that I don't know if everybody knows. She has her foundation. She does her passion letter writing for the girls. They write a letter and see what they love about golf, and she invites them down to her facility and spends a couple days with them. And so that's a big deal, even though some of them don't even know who she is because they weren't around when she was playing. So just hearing her story and the fact that she's ready to come back to the game for her children, so they could see, you know, what it's about and inspire her own children. And so I'm so grateful for that. I think the game needs it, and I think I just can't wait to see her play and follow her and stalk her like I did before.
See, another thing we have in common. I mean, I feel the same way about Nancy Lopez. You know, she was probably more my era growing up, you know, looking up to the tour players. But you know, what's so great is that when we get a chance to interact and meet sort of our golf idols, and they end up being better than we even imagined, that's awesome. And I know that's how I felt about Nancy and how you feel about Annika. And yeah, I mean, she may end up making more of an impact after her playing days than before. So certainly to be commended. So I bet that was a cool experience. Good for you. I know we've got just about maybe 5 minutes, so I just want to just wrap up on a couple things. You know, we've kind of been focusing on the progress that we've made for the last decade, and I'm going to pose a question to you, two questions. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? We're going to invite Mackenzie Mack back in 10 years for what would that be, the 14th Southern California Women's Golf Summit. What will you be doing? And then where will our women's game be, in your opinion?
Hopefully I'll be in a role within Callaway where I can continue to grow and be a voice for those markets that need the more attention. So that's where I don't know what that looks like. Maybe something that we create, but I just want to continue to make an impact on the industry in that way. And as far as what it'll look like for us women, hopefully it will be packing the golf course, and the men will have to move over, right? Like they'll have to move over because we are taking over, and that's what I want to see. I want to see us out there all the time playing together and having a good time, and kick the men out. They can wait for us.
They can join us too sometimes. We'll let them in sometimes.
Sometimes. When we need to get some money, when we need some extra money, take their money on the golf course.
That's right. We'll win some skins against them for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't thank you enough for your time, Mackenzie, and the friendship that we've started. I look forward to that continuing, and just again another example of how the great game of golf can bring two people together. And I know you're doing wonderful things, and you'll continue to do so for Callaway, and not only for the benefit of them, but for the benefit of Southern California golf. You're one of us now, so you're part of our mission and everything we want to do, and certainly on a bigger stage as well. So any final comments or anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to address?
I just say thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be in Southern California and do my part for the cause, and come play. I'm always willing to play. Anybody on the call, find me on social media and we can play anytime.
There you go. Open invite. That's all it takes, right? All right, friend. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again real soon. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Happy Women's Golf Day.
That's right. Okay, well, at this time, we're going to wrap up the summit with our keynote speaker, and I'm thrilled to be able to have her with us today. She's the 6-time LPGA Tour champion and the 2021 Solheim Cup captain, Pat Hurst. Pat is also a 2-time USGA champion. She won the 1986 US Girls Junior and the 1990 US Women's Am. Pat played her collegiate golf at San Jose State University before turning professional and joining the LPGA Tour in 1995. Pat represented the United States as a Solheim Cup team member for a record 5 times, and now she's going to be captaining our team, captaining the Team America later this summer, September, I believe, the Solheim Cup. So, ladies and gentlemen, Pat Hurst. Pat, thank you so much for joining us today. We know you're very busy, especially with the U.S. Open up your way and all the planning you have. So I really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Nikki. I'm excited to be here and to share some of my stories.
Well, thank you. And another, great golf story. Obviously know who Pat Hurst is and have looked up to her, but she and I kind of met each other officially not too long ago, earlier in the year, out at the Kia Classic. She was out watching Lizette Salas, and I was fortunate enough to ride around in a golf cart with her for a few holes, and we just had a wonderful time talking about the good old days of junior golf and collegiate golf, and it was really a special time for me, Pat, so thank you. And again, thanks for joining us. So I'm going to start with you, just like I did with Mackenzie. Share your golf journey, how you got introduced to the game, and kind of take us through.
Sure. I started when I was 11 years old. My stepdad played almost every day. So I one day I just said, "Hey, can I go out with you? I want to see what golf's all about." And sure enough, he let me drive the golf cart, and that kind of suckered me in as a junior golfer, thinking that if I play golf, I'll be able to drive the golf cart more. And how much fun is that when you're 11 years old? So start playing tournament golf when I was 12, Junior Golf Association Northern California, and just enjoyed it. We had a lot of girls that played, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, I've made friendships from that you know, from the very first event. I mean, I still talk to the girls that I played with, like I said, my very first event, and I'll never forget that. So, and then moved forward. I mean, I was lucky enough to win the U.S. Juniors, and was getting recruited by San Jose State, and that year they had won the national championship, and so I was lucky enough to go play for the #1 school in college golf at the time, women's golf, and it was a lot of fun. Enjoyed playing for Mark Gale at San Jose State. I'm a total Spartan, loved it there. We had won nationals when I was on the team in 1989. I had won the individual title at Stanford, and the team also won. So that was kind of fun to celebrate together and experience the win together. It wasn't just one, me winning the individual or the team winning. I mean, it'd be great just to have the team win, but for all of us to experience the win together. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then moved on. I mean, I actually took a different route. I won the U.S. Amateur after that, and then was going to, I turned pro. I missed qualifying the first 2 times, and was ready to go to the 3rd time. And you know what? I was at the moment in my life where golf wasn't everything to me, and I decided to put the clubs up for a little bit, and that's when I actually joined the PGA back in the day, back in 90, I want to say 1993. So joined the PGA, went through my PAT, passed, on my first go. So yay. I did all that stuff. It was a lot of fun, but I started playing again with the guys in the golf shop. The head pro was a good golfer. And
you were out at La Quinta Country Club out in the desert, right?
I was. Was a teaching pro out there. Enjoyed my time out there, and basically started getting back into tournament golf. Got the juices flowing and wanted to play. And so, I was lucky enough to know that I had a job if I didn't get my card when I wanted to go back to Q school, and actually made it through. Was rookie of the year that year, and I actually came back to work at La Quinta after my rookie year in the wintertime because I loved it so much. So.
Yeah.
The journey. I mean, I loved playing junior golf, college golf, and professional golf. I played for 21 years on the LPGA. And wish I had a little more success. I think all of us do that. That's always your goal. But you know what? Looking back, I wouldn't trade anything. I had a lot of fun. I felt like I accomplished a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish, and now here I am, the Solheim Cup captain for 2021 for Team America.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm glad you brought up the fact, because when I was looking up your bio, I did not know that you did not get through LPGA Q school the first 2 times you tried, and that's just like, wow. I mean, here's this amazing golfer who had so much success as a junior, collegiate, amateur, and now can't get through Q school. I mean, that just shows how competitive it was, and certainly still is.
Right, it is.
The golf industry was fortunate though that you stayed in golf and got to share your love for the game, and maybe teaching others and helping them find love for the game and improvement. Maybe that sparked that fire in you to say, this is great, but I need to be out on tour. That's where I belong. And
yeah, like I said, I loved being around the members. I loved being around all the all the golfers. It was a lot of fun, but my passion was to play tournament golf, and I love the competition. I love to get those juices flowing.
Well, before we dive into Solheim Cup stuff, I do have a question that came in with regards to competitive golf. So is there a difference in your mind, or maybe talk about the differences on how to approach competitive golf, man versus woman? Have you seen, even from your teaching days, competitive days, are there different approaches, or just I would think to golf in general?
Yeah, with men, to me, distance is a lot with men. Yeah. With women, it's more finesse. It's around the greens, them making the putts, and so, if you can get the men to kind of get their wedges in gear because they hit it so far, that would definitely help their game. Always, and like I said, with the women, and it always seems like, even back in the day, women always had a good short game, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're not always hitting the greens, and they're chipping quite a bit. But I've always noticed that their short game is pretty good. And
Yeah,
you know, if you have a good short game, you can always score.
for sure. Yeah, I remember, back when I played in high school golf, and probably you as well, there weren't girls teams, so we were playing with the boys and from the same tees. And, again, it's great that we've made all these advances and progress, and we have girls high school golf, and it's wonderful. But I look back and I think playing with the boys and playing from a longer tee helped make me a better player. And it certainly sharpened my short game, because I could not reach most of the par fours and two. I was a short hitter to begin with. So,
Right.
I agree with what you're saying, and it's just, just approaching the game differently. We're not gonna,
Right.
I'm never gonna hit it 300 yards. I'm not even gonna hit it 250, but
Right.
could still get it in the hole. So that's
Right. Yeah. Growing up, I know my instructor, Gloria Armstrong, she always said, okay, play back, play from the whites, don't play from the reds, and try to hit it as hard as you can, because it's really hard to teach distance, but you
Yeah.
can always teach the short game. And that's,
Sure.
That has always stuck in my mind.
Yeah, no doubt. So what was did you ever have a backup plan if golf didn't work out? If you didn't decide to go back on tour, you didn't like being at the club, or you got injured or something, was there ever a backup plan?
No, I mean, being a mom, that was
Yeah,
probably one of my backup plans, and that was, I again, that was another part of my life that I went trade for the world, a lot of, I was away a little bit, but I was fortunate enough to have them on the road with me. So that helped me, when I was done playing golf during tournaments, I'd come back and I'd focus on the kids and not even think about golf. So that really helped me. But no, I never really had a backup plan. I always felt like I can, I felt confident enough. I don't feel like I was cocky, but I felt confident enough deep down that I can make a living out there, and I enjoyed it. I was lucky to have my husband out there, who was he was the ping rep for the LPGA tour. So we're both doing, we both were in the same city, but doing different jobs. And so it was, I was lucky. I was one of the lucky ones.
Very, very lucky. I remember, talking a little bit when we were riding in the golf cart. I mean, how fortunate were you that, your husband was still in the industry, and yeah, probably very challenging with, both of you on tour essentially, and having two kids. I know your kids you had your kids young, as you were still out there, in the height of your career, out there playing week in and week out. And I know the tour does a wonderful job of helping the players with daycare, and everyone kind of helps each other. I know, was it Julie Inkster that had her kids about the same age, or maybe they're a little bit older than yours? But
they're older. They were born in 90 and 95, so they're about 10 years, about 10 years older.
Yeah. Okay.
So daycare wasn't.
They could become the babysitter.
Yeah, exactly. And when she was out, she didn't really have daycare like I did. We had the Smuckers program, and that really helped me out. We can drop them off before we go play, and we pick them up after we get done, and they become part of your family.
Yeah, it's very nice. With Jeff, your husband, being with Ping, he's still with Ping, right? Let's have a
Correct.
manufacturer question, and you heard us just talk with Mackenzie about, we do need more women, on that side of the game, and the companies, the manufacturing companies. Any thoughts there, or have you seen, in the roles that you have you start to see more women in that space and within our industry, as maybe when you were playing on the tour? Yeah.
Right. When I was playing on tour, every now and then you'd get a woman in the pro-am. Now you're getting quite a bit more women playing in the pro-ams, which is kind of nice. So that tells you that the women are definitely picking up the sport and enjoying it. It's a game where everyone can enjoy it, and it's good for business. And so it seems like a lot more women are picking it up and playing.
Yeah, good. Now, how about playing for you? Is there I know you're busy right now planning for Solheim Cup.
Yeah.
Any senior stuff in the horizons, or?
I signed up for the U.S. Senior Open, so I'll be playing in that and a couple of Legends events. And so I wish I had a couple more Legends events before the Senior Open, but don't. So I'm just keeping busy. I'm trying to get out to as many tournaments as I can to watch the girls or watch the players. They're not really girls, but I
Right.
they're young enough to be my girls, but you know, so I know. So I'm playing, you know, I'm playing once to twice a week, and I'll definitely pick it up more once this is over, and see where I can go.
Well, we need to get you playing in some PGA stuff. I know you mentioned, you know, you went the PGA route back in the day in the 80s, I think it was. But I know you took advantage of some downtime during COVID and got your PGA membership status back. So we're thrilled with that, and thrilled to have you, you know, have PGA behind your name as well. So that's great.
Right. Got my Class A, so it's nice.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into what everybody's probably really interested to hear more about, and that's Solheim Cup. I mean, you've been on 5 teams, which is awesome. Tell us about maybe some of your most memorable experiences or memorable events as a player, and then we'll sort of, you know, we'd love to get a glimpse what you can share with us as to what your responsibilities are as a captain. You know?
Yeah.
So let's talk about as a player first. What your most
as
fond
a player.
Out of the 5, how many did USA win?
4 out of 5.
Nice.
So we lost in Scotland. That was a tough loss, but you know, we won 4 out of 5. It was a lot of fun. My first one was at Muirfield Village in 1990. Oh my goodness, 8. And you know, Judy Rankin was the captain, and I have to say that was probably one of the most memorable years. You know, it was just the whole thing where you know, I was out in one of the first couple of matches with Kelly Robbins, and it was alternate shot, which is not the easiest to, as a rookie, to go out and play. But you know, I think it set the tone for me for Solheim Cup, because I played in quite a bit of alternate shots, and I loved it. And a lot of them again were with Kelly Robbins, so that was a lot of fun. But to make them, you know, we came down the very first match, and you know, I think I had to make it felt like a 10-footer. It was probably 3 or 4 feet, and I just kind of rammed it in there, and the ball kind of hits the back of the hole and pops up and goes in. And I mean, just the feeling that, you know, to win the match. And later on that night, they kept showing the putt hitting the back of the hole, and everyone just giving me a hard time about how hard I hit the putt. But you know what? Take the break out, just hit it hard. So that's what I did. So that was probably my most memorable, just because I think it was my first event with Solheim.
So Judy was your captain there. What were your other captains?
Oh, I had let's see who was next. So I had Beth Daniel, Betsy King. I had Lopez, which was one of my favorites. I had gosh, now you're putting me on the spot.
That's okay. I didn't prep you for that one.
Lopez was a lot of fun. I mean, it was in Minneapolis.
And she's still so involved still, right? I mean, it's cool to see.
Yes.
You know, sort of bring the past captains and legends of the tour, and they're in the red, white, and blue and supporting. That's got to be a huge thing for the players.
Yeah, and she's such a mom, right? I mean, you're bringing the team together. How do we bring the team together? Oh, we do spa day. That's how we bring the team together with Lopez. So it was kind of nice. So we enjoyed that.
That's awesome. Well, give us a little glimpse into, you know, being a captain. You know, remind everyone, how many qualify through points, and then how many picks will you have, and what's sort of the timing of all that? Because I know that's kind of a short window this year. From what
it is. It's shorter than normal.
Yeah.
We are doing our picks. We only have a week in between. We'll have Canada in between. I pick after AIG, which is the last major of the year over in I think they're playing at Carnoustie. Haven't done my flights yet. So yeah. So I'm trying to get caught up. But anyways, we're gonna do the picks after AIG. I get 3 picks. 7 will come off of the points list, the Solheim points list, and then we'll have 2 Rolex rankings and then 3 picks. Okay. And so, you know, it's tough. You know, I usually would only have 2, but since we're going through COVID, they're allowing me to have one extra pick, which sometimes can be better, or sometimes it can be worse, because the more picks you have, and you tell someone no, I think it's a little bit harder. So, but overall, you know, I mean, the girls are playing great. It's been a lot of fun to watch them play, and you know, I started going out once COVID kind of lifted, and the tournament started up again late last year in 2020. And you know, when I first got out there, you know, these girls, they miss a putt, or I can tell, you know, they kind of turn around and look, and they, you know, they turn their head real quick, and I'm like, hey, listen, yeah, you know, listen, I'm out here just to give you a little bit of support. I'm not, you know, I'm not going to judge you on this one shot or this one putt.
Right.
I'm out here to give you some love, and I just want to see how you are on the golf course, you know, and there's nothing that I'm really looking for when I'm out there. I mean, I need to get to know these girls in a different way. So, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing this. And anyway, so yeah, so our pick we won't have much time to bond like we have in the past, and that's going to be a little bit different for me.
Have you had the opportunity to get, I'll say the team, but you know, those that look like they're going to pretty much be on your team, and then maybe those that either have a chance to bump up in the rankings or could possibly be a pick? Or have you had an opportunity, or will you, to get everyone together, whether you go to the site? Remind me where Solheim is this year.
At Inverness in Toledo, Ohio.
Right.
Yes.
Will you go to the course as an example, or will you get together at another tour event?
Right. Yeah, we'll have a practice round out there when the girls play in Toledo, and not you know, I look at the list. It's like the top 20. I mean, there's 4 more majors left, so there's a lot of points to be made. And so it's really hard. Anybody can make it. I mean, you can probably be 30th and still make it if you have some hot rounds, you know, especially at the majors. And so, you know, I'm looking at, I've got to stop somewhere, so I'm stopping at 20. And I just try to watch them as much as I can. Try to have a dinner the end of this week at Olympic Club, which USJ was all for, but you know, with the LPGA protocols, we had to call it off. And so, you know, it's what it is right now. There's nothing that we can do. Everybody's dealing with it. But you know, I can do dinner with, you know, we can go out with 4 of us, 4 total. So it's basically, if I bring, you know, the assistants, you know, Michelle and Angela, I can only bring 1 player, and we have to sit outside. And so, you know, if I bring just 1 assistant, then I can have 2 players. But you know, I'm trying to do as much as I can. It's a little limited this year, so my hands are tied. But you know, that's why I'm trying to get out to as many tournaments as I can, just to show my face and show that I'm out here for them. So it's been a little bit difficult in that sense, but you know, we'll try to get together. We'll try and do a team bonding deal, and it all depends on if you know, the protocols get lifted. So time will only tell.
Certainly challenges you're facing that no other captain has in the past. Now I know you've served definitely once as an assistant captain. Have you served more than once?
Yeah, I did the last 3 times as Julie's assistant, and you know, Nancy, Wendy, and I did the last 3 times, and you know, basically was Julie's right-hand man all 3 times. And so, you know, we kind of can just look at each other and know exactly what we're thinking. So so I learned a lot with her, a lot.
I'm sure. And that leads to one question that came in. What lessons have you learned, either, you know, from Julie serving as her assistant, or as a player from the captains that you had? I mean, I would imagine you're going to take bits and pieces from everyone.
You know, and you know, I learned a lot. I mean, Julie's great. I mean, if there's anyone that I would want to play for, it'd be her. She's very positive. She's upfront and honest, and you know exactly what you're going to get from her. There's no, you know, she'll never tell you one thing and then do something else. You know, she'll tell you exactly what it's like, and I think that's what everybody likes about it. She's got the best speeches that anyone has, and so that's going to be hard to top. But hopefully, you know, I'll have her around definitely as one of my helpers. She's not going to be an assistant, but I'll have her around as a helper. And you know, I learned, you know, the one thing that I did like that we did was the pod system, and I'm definitely going to do the pod system again. And so, you know, it just makes it a lot easier for all of us. So definitely going to follow that. But you know, she kind of stepped down and just said, hey, you know, this is your team. You know, I'd love to help you as a helper, but I'm not going to, you know, I want you to have this as your team. So you're going to be, you know, you've got to pick some other, you know, even though we're really close, you know, she just, you know what, pick 3 other assistants and I'll be there for you.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Good for her.
Yeah.
She certainly had a great run, great
Yes.
record as a player and certainly as a captain. So let's address the pods. That was going to be the next question. I think that that concept might have been introduced at the Ryder Cup. So kind of walk us through, how many pods do you have? How many players are in each pod, and how do you know who to put with who? I mean, you've got a lot of personalities out there, and
yes.
walk us through that if you can, without giving,
Yeah, no, we did a behavioral profile, and we try to put people together that are kind of like-minded, and not necessarily, they don't have to be like-minded, but we did the behavior profile to have the players understand each other better. Why she does what she does, and not to get all bent out of shape if someone's doing something different than what you would do. That's just the way they are, and it's okay. To do the pods, it's what we have done with what Julie has done. It's been 4 to an assistant captain, and you're constantly together. You know who you're playing with. You know who you're doing dinner with. It's just we did it last time like-minded, and it's hard. Every time was different. I mean, sometimes we filled the pods. Julie sometimes had to fill the pods. You have to see how the pods are filling out, right? And who's going to be on the team, and so we really don't know who's going to be on the team until that last putt is made at that last tournament. Just because, again, it's going to be even harder because we're at a major. But we try to fill the pods with people who basically want to be together. I mean, we put the quarters together. I think I'd have to say, and I'm not sure. That I don't think they match up, but you know what? We're gonna put them together because we know that they want to play together, and we know that they play well together. There was other pairings that were the same way, that they may not have been matched up personality wise, but we put them together because they wanted to play together, and that that it just they work well together. So. But the behavior profile is more for the captains and I to kind of figure out if something does go kind of south, what do we do? And how do we go about it? And again, to have the players understand each other when they're out there playing, and we just want them to play golf and not focus on why she's doing what she's doing. So it's an interesting thing. It's pretty upfront. I liked it. I liked it when we did it from the first time. Julie and I. She had read Paul Zinger's book, and I don't know the title. I wish I did, but he had done a pod system with the Ryder Cup team, and so she just called me up one day and said, "Hey, what do you think? Will you read this and tell me what you think?" And I read it. And I said, I think that's a great idea, especially when you're playing a individual sport, and now you got to come together as a team. It's difficult to bring 12 all together. So this is more focusing. Basically on 4, getting together, and you still at the end of the day, we're still in the team room together. We're still eating dinner together. We're still on the bus together. But up front, who you might be paired with, and things like that. So it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely like that approach. And I mean, let's face it, and I don't know how many potential Solheim rookies you're going to have. I think a few. If all
we had a lot last year. We had 6 last year. So,
right. Okay.
In 19. So that helps me out in a sense where I won't have as many rookies this year. And again, you're talking about the picks. Last year we had 6 rookies. So, the picks, do you pick a rookie when you're going to have so many rookies on the team? No. So it all comes together at the end, and you just kind of gotta keep your eyes open and just kind of look around and see, okay, how is this going to work out? And it does. Everything works out for a reason. But thank God I had we had 6 rookies last year.
That's right.
Because we have experience.
Yeah. Because talk about that just for a minute as a player, remembering, I mean, it's obviously you still get the nerves, teeing it up in a tour event and all that, but it's got to be a way different experience. Teeing it up, representing the United States.
That and just walking to the first tee there's nothing like it. So, I know that if we can't have the fans, there's no possible way that we would have the event, because the fans make it.
Yeah.
And no, and I think everybody loves it. Not only do the players love it, the caddies love it, the captains love it, and the fans love it. And
Yeah.
it's just it's an awesome event, and it's something. It's to me, it's the best event around.
Yeah, no question. And and that's why the Ryder Cup was postponed. It's kind of like, hey, if we can't have fans there, that's what makes the Ryder Cup and the Solheim Cup, on
Correct.
both sides.
Totally.
So,
Totally.
as golf fans, we're going to get quite a treat this year with both. So that'll be really exciting.
Right.
Well, had one question come in. Who gets to pick the uniforms? Is that you? I know there's a sponsor involved as well, but do you do that? Do you get input from your assistants or players?
Well, we do it all. So we design the clothes. We say yes or no if we like that or if we don't like that. And I remember back in 15 we were with Antigua. This time we're going to be with Cutter and Buck, but in 15 we're with Antigua, and I remember doing some of the caddy the guys. Not all caddies are guys, but the guys shirts. And I just yesterday playing on Memorial Day, one of my buddies came out with one of the shirts, and I said that's Antigua because we designed that one, and you just but yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, they give you kind of a sample, and you kind of go, well, I like this and I like that. Can you try and do this? Can you do that? So that is a lot of fun. I'm not a fashion coordinator, but it's a lot of fun to do. And yes, all that stuff that you'll see some stuff where with other captains where you're like, whoa, what is that? Or you're like, I like that, and so we definitely have a lot of say in that. We have a lot of say in the bags. They send you a sample, and you're like, okay, can you move? It's too. The first sample I got on the bags this time was too red. I said, okay, whoa, this is too red for me. I can we do blue here, blue? And so it is. I mean, it's your team and everything.
That's fun.
It's a lot of fun. Everything that is. Head covers. Okay, Captain, what do you think? Which one? And you go throw them hats. I just was doing hats when I was on the golf course in Vegas last week. We're getting down to crunch time. We got to figure out hats, and so they send me 4 different hats. I said, okay, wait, I'm in between 2 and 4. Okay, well that didn't answer my question. Which one do you wrote? I said, well, okay, number 2, but can you do, instead of doing the 2, I want to do the straight lines all the way across and put the 2021 in the back, and so it's we have control over quite a bit. Menus, what we're going to eat. Yeah. And that's hard, because everyone has those dietary restrictions. And so you got to kind of figure out who's going to be on the team and what we can have, what we can't have. Do we want a breakfast buffet? Do we want someone cooking us omelets? Do we want, what do we want for lunch? And, so it's, you got a big, thick stack of papers that you go through to see what's on the menus at different, whether it's at the hotel. Are we going to eat at the hotel? Are we going to eat at the golf course? Wow. What are we going to have? There's a lot that is involved, but it's so much fun. And, like I said, you're the captain, you make those decisions, and you know what? You got to blame me if it's not good, but you know what? You got to tap me on the back if it is good. So.
That's cool. That's a lot, that's a lot to handle, but at the same time, really cool opportunity that you're literally touching every decision made. For this event, this team.
And it's a lot, but it's so worth it, because you choose all this stuff to make everybody happy, and that's what I think is the most fun about it.
Yeah. Now, do you work alongside the golf course? Who as far as like course setup? Will the European captain Katrina Matthew be involved in that? How does that work?
I'll tell you
LPGA?
After the fact. I don't really know. I went out there. We usually do a year out, which the year out was the first event back, and I wasn't allowed out there because they weren't allowing anybody out there other than the players. And so I don't know how the golf course is going to be set up. I haven't really been out there to play. I'll get out there. I just made some flights to go back there to go play. And so once I see the golf course, hopefully I can give my input. And, ask the players who did play in the event, hey, what do you think? What do you think about the course setup and stuff like that? So, again, we have a little bit of control on that, but the LPGA officials take control, of that, because that's just what they do every day at every event. So.
Sure. Well, great. Well, how about one more question here? Any advice based on your competitive experience and even your teaching experience for women who are either considering getting into the game or have just started? Maybe want to dip their toe into competitive golf too.
Into competitive golf, the bottom line is to go out and have fun. I mean, that's don't make it so stressful that it's not fun. I feel that if you work at it and you put in the time, that you'll have a little bit of confidence in that, and that goes a long ways. But don't be afraid. I see so many women, oh my goodness, that are so intimidated. I don't want to play with you or what have you. It's like, really, we just want to go out and have just as much fun as you do. So, come on out, come play with me. Let's go play. Let's go have a good time. It's again, we're out there to have a good time, and so, the competitive part, again, is just to enjoy it. And I love playing, I love playing against the guys. I don't really play much against the women because everyone's so intimidated. So, as time goes on, hopefully, we're getting a lot more women golfers. I know with my husband saying he can't keep up with the women's clubs and stuff. He's slammed. And so hopefully that helps, and that will bring the women out. And once they play with you, they have a great time, and they get over the fear factor.
Yeah.
And and just like I said, we're out there to have just as much fun as you guys. And so that's the bottom line, is to enjoy it. It's a sport. You're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to enjoy it.
And that's what handicaps are for, right? So a 30 handicapper could go play with you and I and still be competitive with us. And I guarantee you would have a good time.
Right. And still have a good time. Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
Well, awesome. Well, hopefully you and I can tee it up someday. And Pat, I can't thank you enough. Obviously you've got a lot on your plate right now, and you've been so great. I know you've been on the entire time joining us, and we appreciate that and appreciate you sharing some insight into the Solheim Cup. We'll all be watching and rooting you and the team on. It'll be a wonderful thing. So we wish you all the best, and thank you so much for joining us. We'll be talking
anytime.
soon.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. All right, bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that about does it for the 4th annual Southern California Women's Golf Summit. Although we missed seeing you all in person again this year, we're just so grateful that we were still able to be together in this format and continue with the great momentum that we started 4 years ago. And finally, another thank you again to our amazing sponsors. We appreciate all that they're doing for not only this event, but most importantly, what they do in support of women's golf. We'll be following up with an email to all of the attendees tomorrow. We'll also be announcing all of our raffle winners, so good luck to everyone with that. Included in that email will be a short survey. So we'd really appreciate your thoughts on today's event, as we want to continue to provide you with relevant topics and discussions that you want to talk about and that you want to hear about. So we thank you for joining us once again in the virtual format. We'll hope to be back in person sometime soon. But on behalf of the Southern California Golf Association and the Southern California PGA, thank you for attending the Southern California Women's Golf Summit. Play well and play often.